Hello and welcome to another episode of the To Baldly Go podcast, and thank you for joining me on my mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to baldly go where so many have gone before. My name is Aaron, and I am watching Star Trek for the first time, then discussing with my wife Abbie and our friend Nate. This week, we will be discussing Where No One Has Gone Before, Lonely Among Us, and Justice. Now, before we dive into this week's show, I do want to take a moment. As I record this intro, just this morning, Scott Adams passed away. You may know him as the creator of Dilbert. Now, while I never met him, he was an influential figure in my life. He's one of the reasons this podcast exists. In his book, How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big, he talks about developing your talent stack. Podcast hosting, producing, audio editing, these are all pillars in my own talent stack. Through his daily podcast, he introduced the world to the simultaneous sip. So, in honor of Scott, I would like to invite you to join me. All you need is a cup, a mug, or a glass, a tankard, chalice, or stein, a canteen jug or flask, a vessel of any kind. Fill it with your favorite liquid. I like coffee. And join me now for the unparalleled pleasure, the dopamine hit of the day, the thing that makes everything better. It's called the simultaneous sip, and it happens now. Rest in peace, Scott. Thanks for everything. And with that, I guess let's talk about some Star Trek. So, should we talk about some Star Trek?
No, let's do it.
All right. Okay, so in Next Generation, we are up to, well, we're starting this week with Season 1, Episode 5. Everyone accurately pegs a visiting propulsion scientist as a charlatan, but only Wesley Crusher recognizes his alien assistant as the real deal in Where No One Has Gone Before. So
nice callback to the original
yeah.
season on that one.
Yep. And have you noticed
This,
in the
I have to say,
voiceovers? Have you noticed in the voiceovers? He says, "Where no one, not no man."
Yep. Very, very modernized, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't realize how annoying Wesley was until Greg pointed it out. Now, last week or last session. Now, maybe it's because I watched this when I was younger and I had far more patience for that. And now I have my own children and I have patience that I've spent on my own children. I don't want to be patient with somebody else's child, which is kind of what Wesley feels like watching this. But I'm kind of with him. I think this is going to be a very similar conversation to our previous recording where it's just like they're leaning heavily on that Wesley theme.
They are. And I guess I had forgotten that so many of these early episodes are very Wesley centric. Man.
So
and I will concede that there are certain episodes where Wesley is kind of obnoxious. The Naked Now being one of them. Like he's just kind of over the top. I don't feel like this is an obnoxious Wesley episode. I feel like this is an episode where he is trying to help and do all the right things, and they treat him like shit. Like absolute dog shit.
I basically had a note about that saying if I had watched this as a kid, I probably would have thought Riker was being a complete dick to Wesley.
Yep.
As a parent, I kind of get it. But made then the note
because you're
that,
like me, you like our kids and our friends' kids, but random people's children. I'm like, why are you talking to me?
That's
well,
fair.
There's that. But the follow-up note I had, like the conclusion of that note was, though this is a good reminder that sometimes kids do know more than we give them credit for.
And I gotta commend Wesley for actually, like, at one point in the episode, standing up for himself and being like,
did he?
Yeah, because they keep saying the boy, the boy, the boy. And he goes, my name is Wesley, Commander Riker. Like literally calls him out on it. And so I don't know. I still struggle with the Wesley is an annoying character thing, and that's fine. We can agree to disagree on that. But as far as Wesley being annoying, this is one of the tamer episodes for that. I think he was right more often than he was wrong, and I think he was doing the right things, and nobody wanted to listen to him. So
So one of the things I
So
knew coming into watching Star Trek is that Wesley is often viewed poorly. Um, that is my only context, and I would say so far through what, 7 episodes by the end of tonight,
yep.
um, I'm fairly ambivalent towards him. I don't have much opinion either way. I mean, he's a, kind of a kid in the 80s. So, I mean, he fits all of the kids in 80s movies or shows, I think, and is basically just that. Um, yeah, I didn't think he was super annoying or anything in this one. Um, but yeah, I to this point
it's the
don't really have
voice.
much
It's the
opinion.
voice because he doesn't talk like an adult. It's the voice. He doesn't talk like an adult. He talks like a child. And he kind of has that little bit of a whiny voice to him when he talks without the confidence. So it reminds me of a child. And we are in adult situations. And I get it. He's an acting ensign now. We had that in the last episode, right? Where he became the acting ensign. So it
That was
makes
at the end
sense,
of
I
this one.
guess. Is it this one? Okay, so why is he hanging out in engineering?
He was doing schoolwork,
In engineering?
apparently.
Can I go do my work at the nuclear plant just for fun because I want to, just funsies? Like
You can
it
ask.
doesn't make sense. Why
I
is
don't know.
he just there? Like I would get it if he was there for a purpose and it was like, okay, yeah, but it's like what is with this casual stroll through of engineering? I'm just saying, like what if he's built his juice box on the console and all of a sudden we're gonna be hit by another meteorite or something?
They have juice
You know,
boxes in the 21st century.
they could replicate it, I'm sure.
Isn't this the 24th century?
Yeah, I said 24th.
I thought you said 21st.
No, they definitely have on the 21st. I'm pretty sure I
Yeah.
have somewhere in the house.
So, what are your ratings for this episode?
You want me to go first?
Sure.
I gave it an 8.
8. Wow.
It's a good
Abbie?
episode.
Give it a 7.
I also
but
gave it a 7.
Wesley is so annoying. Just remember. Sorry.
Yeah, I also gave it a 7. I thought it was a good episode. We watched it one evening and then I revisited it the next day. And some notes I wrote before rewatching was that a day removed, I couldn't think of a ton of specifics about the episode, but just had a general positive feeling about it. So yeah, I felt like it was a good episode. There was some interesting stuff with it. It had similarities to Where No Man Has Gone before, um, from the original series, but it was different enough
Yeah. It
that it
wasn't a
wasn't just a
complete.
carbon copy.
Yeah.
So it wasn't quite like The Naked Now being so closely tied to and so similar to The Naked Time. I felt this was similar but still different enough that it was its own episode.
I feel like this is the first kind of like really, really solid episode of
Yeah.
the show where I'm not going to say it was flawless because it certainly wasn't, but you get a good look at the characters. They kind of have their roles. They're settling into it. It's an interesting plot. It
Mhm.
feels like a Star Trek episode, right?
Yep.
But it feels like it's its own kind of Star Trek episode. It's the next generation starting to set the tone for itself moving forward versus being just a spin-off of the original series and trying to match some of that energy and
Yeah.
approach.
So I had made another note along those lines as I was watching through. So when we watched it the first time, just watched it. Didn't
Yep.
take any notes or anything. Did kind of just jotted down some thoughts the next day. When I watched it again, I kept pausing to write down some notes. And the first note I had was that the conversation between Riker and Troy, where she says she's feeling no presence from the assistant, So that particular interaction just felt very Star Trek, and like it was a logical progression from the original series, where this is the same universe, different show, but still the same thing.
Yeah.
So I definitely had that feeling where it wasn't the identical thing. It was just it was very Star Trek.
Very much so. I did love too that we get to see this vision of Worf's pet growing up, and it has some great callbacks to the dog and the
I
tiger suit in the original series.
Yep, I
Um,
I did say Worf's dog
yeah,
reminded me of the bad dog costume from The Enemy Within.
we took a pig and put a lion, or I don't even remember what costume it was, but it was very
Yeah.
clearly a pig,
Yep.
and put something on it, and that made me laugh. Followed by Yar's exclamation of, you're telling me it's a kitty cat?"
So that brings up some questions I had on this one that I don't know the answer to after even watching it twice. Were the visions and the hallucinations, were they real? Picard stopped at the fire in the
Yep.
hallway and had to tell the guy how to put it out.
Yep.
But then Worf's Targ disappeared and turned into a tabby cat. So had Picard not caught himself, would he have fallen from the turbo lift?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I think that's what the companion was getting to at the end, anyways, saying that I would more lean towards more real than not. But since we can't control our brains, we can cause a lot of damage by making all those things real when they weren't real. So I would lean towards real versus not for that reason.
Yeah. It's kind of like a common trope in some of these movies is when you go into like some kind of a virtual reality simulation where you believe it's so real that if you get hurt in the simulation, you're hurt in real life. And so, because your body believes it to be true. So if you die in a simulation, you're going to die in reality. Maybe it's that to an extent.
I disagree with that only because Aaron brought up the fire in the corridor.
Yep.
That Picard witnessed somebody else's manifestation. So it's not just in his own mind. So that means you're projecting into other people's minds then?
They all were witnessing other people's manifestations.
That's my point.
Worf's
That's my point though. Like I was using that as the example, but it's not in our mind. It's manifesting to everyone. So are you saying they're projecting into each other's minds? Or
I think it's that they're projecting it into reality.
Yeah.
Right, I agree.
I guess I would err more on the idea that they're manifesting something to be physically there. And they also, the flip side of that is if they're disciplined enough, they can manifest it to go away. And that was what Picard was trying to do in the hall with the fire, was to get that crew member to manifest it to be gone. Right. So it was quasi-real, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think this is part of the problem with the episode and why I couldn't go great or better, is that it felt like they were really trying to do something deep and philosophical like that, exploring the impact of the mind on reality, but they just fell a little bit flat in it.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like they were trying to do something, and I respect that. I think it's great to see that they're trying to do things like that, but it wasn't a well enough developed idea to really work, but it didn't detract from the episode.
I made a comment in my notes at one point that they are literally using thoughts and prayers to get back home. Like that, literally that's how they get back to where they came from, is you have to think good thoughts, right? And
they basically click their red ruby slippers together
Right.
on the
There's no place
USS
like home.
Toto and said, "There's no place like home."
And to an extent, like I can almost buy that as an explanation. And then where it took me out of it for a second, and this might be just more like knowledge about what's going on than, like you would necessarily have, Aaron, but there are 1,000 people on this ship, including children. And so you're going over the intercom and telling everyone to think positive thoughts and, send your positive energy towards the traveler so he can get us home. Because if you have any negative thoughts or anything like that, it's going to throw the whole thing off. Well, you literally have children who can't control that. And so for me, it kind of was like, okay, I could buy if it was the original Enterprise and we knew it was that smaller crew of all adults, I could almost hand wave that concept away. But the second we start talking about like there are literally children on the ship and we're asking them to do something that they're probably not emotionally mature enough to be able to do, that it kind of falls apart a little bit for me. But that was maybe the only major problem with the episode.
Yeah.
Other than they treated Wesley like a pile of shit. So
yeah. Yeah, overall, like I said, I thought it was a good episode. Did you pay attention to I don't know if it was Data saying how far it would be to get somewhere, or no, how long it would take for the message to get back to
like 50 years in subspace to get back, or
yeah, it was 51 years, 10 months, 9 weeks, and 16 days.
it's very specific.
Yeah, but 10 months, 9 weeks.
Oh, 9 weeks.
9 weeks and 16 days.
Yeah. Huh.
Uh,
I did not catch that. I am catching it now. 9 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just like, huh?
Well, a small logic error there, right?
and Aaron's 5 feet 12 inches tall.
From
Yeah.
Data. No,
Huh.
I'm 4 feet 22 inches tall.
Oh, much better. Good job.
I'm trying to see if that's actually in the
I'm
oofs of IMDb, and I don't.
now I wonder if there's some reason for it.
Yeah, I mean, there could be, but they don't explain it.
Yeah. Which traveling subspace they should receive in 51 years, 10 months, 9 weeks, 16 days.
Perfect.
Yeah. I just
Oh, yeah, here it is. According to Data, the subspace message will take that long. Unless the lengths of months, weeks, or days has changed considerably by the 21st century, or the relation of each unit to one another is different in subspace. This is very impressive. This very impressive sounding time frame can just as easily be expressed with 52 years, 2 weeks, and 3 or 4 days.
right. So
Cool.
I don't know, that made me laugh when I heard that, and then I thought it immediately, and then went back to check it because I was like, no way I heard that right. So another question I had on this, and I don't know if they will end up addressing this at some point, but they were 300 light years, or saying 300 years to get home.
Yep.
Now, in the original series, the Enterprise could be self-sufficient for how many years?
5 years?
18.
Oh.
So how long can this iteration, this version of the Enterprise be self-sustainable? I don't know if they ever addressed that.
I don't know if they do or not. I don't remember.
I would imagine 300 years would be pushing it.
I think
Or well beyond the actual range, especially if you're talking intergalactic space. I mean, I'm sure they could find stuff in a new galaxy to replenish resources,
Yep.
presumably. But yeah, I thought that was that was something I was curious of, because I would imagine it can also go more than 18 years like the original Enterprise. It's seems much more equipped than that one. Um, yeah, just kind of
The
some
modern technology and
interesting thoughts that I had there. Um, I think they're trying to make some deep comment when they said space and time and thought aren't the separate things they appear to be.
yeah, thought is the basis of all reality. The energy of thought, to put it in your terms, is very powerful. I have the ability to act as a lens to focus thought. That's what the Traveler says. Very profound.
Now,
I actually like the character of the Traveler. I think he's interesting.
Yeah.
I
I did
honestly,
like that I, I did like that the purpose of his travels was curiosity.
yeah,
The purpose of his journey. I love that.
very, very Star Trek, right?
And that's well, and too, with some of the things I've read over the years, I'm a big proponent of curiosity,
Mhm.
and that being a guiding force in development and learning,
Yes.
in just being exposed to new things. So I thought that was cool. And honestly, I thought a lot of the, not the physical manifestations part of it, but the our thoughts determining reality,
Mhm.
um, it fits a lot with a lot of Stoic philosophy that I've studied, where it's not that your thoughts can manifest something out of thin air, can't manifest a wall of fire, but the way we view things, the way we think about things can determine how we approach them, how we interact with them, and how we see things. Things in and of themselves aren't good or bad, they just are. It's our thoughts that make them good or bad. It's
Yep.
our what we bring to it is what kind of influences the reality of how it's received.
Mhm.
Um, so I thought there was a lot, not exact Stoic philosophy, but a lot of connections to Stoic philosophy in this episode, and just in that the power of our, basically the power of our minds to control our experience in a way.
Yeah. Completely sidetracking for a second and taking us out of Star Trek, but it just made me think of it as we talk about stoicism and things like that. I've been playing through Fallen Order on Xbox,
Oh yeah.
and um, I don't know if you remember this or even got to this part in the game, but like there's literally at one point there's a flashback scene where the main character's Jedi Master literally says the obstacle in the way becomes the way, and like starts quoting Marcus Aurelius like word for word as
That's
part of
awesome.
this flashback. Like that's really cool. I think this is very neat that they incorporated that into the game because again, I know this is a Star Trek podcast, but the Jedi's are kind of the manifestation of Stoicism in a lot of ways
Yeah.
too, right? So it's kind of neat to incorporate those pieces together. So I'll stop the derail now.
Abbie, until you blinked, I wasn't sure you were still with us.
I'm just listening. So I have my comments. I have two very minor ones on this one. You guys have touched on the other ones, but quick question for Nate: is Deanna's accent changing? Like she has an accent in these first seasons,
Yeah,
first episodes at least. What accent is it she's trying to have?
I think she's trying to. So she's British. So she's of Greek descent in real life, but from England. So she's kind of got the British accent. And I think, man, I'd have to go back and dig
I
into it, but
was.
I think she was trying to use a different accent in the early episode.
Almost
It seemed
sounded
like
like
almost like
Russian.
Yeah. And I think she
or
over time she
Italian.
kind of lets
I
that
don't know.
go.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't remember her having an accent,
Yeah.
but these ones she's definitely leaning into something. So that was just me asking for one tricky to another.
Yeah,
But
I think it does change.
but I had an interesting thought about Kaczynski while going through this, because I had a situation at work where completely useless person, actually in IT, just not helpful even a little bit. So I just end up hanging up and calling back to somebody else who was able to assist me appropriately. And the first person like IM'd me and said, this is so-and-so calling about that issue you had. And I was like, thanks. I reached out to somebody else. I got taken care of. Or I was like, I reached out to somebody else, got taken care of, is what I said. I did not say anything else. His response was, you're welcome. Have a great day. And I was so triggered by the you're welcome for the complete uselessness that he was. And it made me think of Kaczynski.
That was just very passive aggressive. How Minnesotan of him to
it made me think of Kaczynski, because I was thinking while watching it of how is it possible for one person to be that unself-aware of your uselessness?
Yeah.
And that you would think that you're everything, but you're literally doing absolutely nothing. And you've convinced yourself, and Deanna confirms it. He 100% convinced himself that he's doing something. Like his math makes sense, even though mathematicians and a computer android dude is saying, no, this means nothing. It's meaningless. So I found that very interesting and very telling about society, or a little bit about people, where it's just, wow, some people just don't get it.
To go controversial over the past few years, I think we can say a strong lesson has been learned in the 21st century to be careful when listening to self-proclaimed quote-unquote experts. They may sometimes back into a right answer or some semblance of a right answer, but if it's for the wrong reason or the wrong interpretation of something, that may pose a very grave risk at a later time. So, like you said, he was fully convinced that he was right. He even said, look, this is where I predicted we would be. And then when they started doing the test, he was completely lost and confused and just, yeah, my last point on that note was beware of hubris.
For sure.
And yeah, just going right along with what you said, I think that's a perfect assessment of how Kaczynski was in this episode. I mean, he was that broken clock that was right, I guess, once. And yeah, it was kind of a prime example of that.
I don't know about you guys, but I've been on this planet for a long time, and certainly what I've found in my experiences is a broad generalization. It's not always going to be true, but it's true in many situations that the people who are most arrogantly confident in their stances are the ones that are most likely to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that time and time again.
So accurate.
To the point where
so accurate.
If I have my moments where I feel like I am just dead set, like, you kind of get that tightness in your chest when somebody challenges you on something.
Mm-hmm.
No, I have tried to learn over the years of like, listen to that, because they might be right and you might not be willing to examine that further, right?
Mm-hmm.
But certainly in other people, the more arrogantly confident, the higher the likelihood that they are way off base.
So I work in wealth for my actual job, and all my years doing this, and I've been doing it for way too long. The one thing has been crystal clear to me. It's just like you said, it's the people who are right and the people who are, in my case, wealthy, feel no need to tell you about it. They are confident without being arrogant. And it's a, sure, I'll get you what you need kind of situation, because they recognize it's needed. It's the ones who are barely wealthy and the ones who are barely right, or will back into that right answer, that are the most condescending people you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
And it reminds me so much of the little kids again. I know we've used this analogy before, where it's, I'm an adult. If you had to prove it that hard, you're not.
Yep.
So it's crazy how, but these people exist, right? We all know that person. We've all met a Kaczynski where you're like, cool, I cannot wait for this interaction to be over. You are looking like a fool. And it's just so hard to not rise to it. Who said that it's best to let someone keep them silent? There's some quote I can't remember where it's like,
Better
just let
to
them talk and
stay silent and let them
they'll
think you're a
they'll be the
fool than to
fool.
open your mouth and prove them right.
That's not what I
I
was
think it
going for.
was
There's a different one though about just what don't respond to them and just let them prove themselves a fool. But I hear you, Nate. It's hard to not rise to those.
just let them. I think it's kind of let them take the rope.
Yeah, exactly. Let them take the rope and do what they need with it.
I have learned, again, I'm never perfect, but I've learned over the years that when I'm interacting with people like that, sometimes the best thing I can do is to just shut my mouth and let them run all the way in to the end of that leash and then get yanked backwards. When they,
yeah. Especially if you're confident you're right, it requires no words to tell them that. They'll get around to it at the very end. And then the most satisfying feeling you have is saying, when they finally get back around to you on accident, and be like, I agree. Yep. So we're back to here.
And they did that in this case too. They let him just do it, right? Every single person.
They didn't rise to it. None of them rose. They just.
Okay, like we looked at it. We don't think it's going to do what you think it's going to do. So you go do it, and turns out it didn't do what he said it was going to do. Like all of that math was nonsense, and they found the real reason, right? So,
yeah, it's so. As far as good qualities within this episode goes, that is such a human quality that they put within that person, that arrogance like that.
Sure.
And I couldn't help but think of how embarrassing that has to be around this essentially very supreme being that's just hitching a ride with him, almost like he's a puppy.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah, I'll let him have this one. Why not? Or not a puppy. The human's the horse in this scenario. Just like using it for little rides. He's skipping around the galaxy. Why not? And it's just, oh, how embarrassing as a staff of the Enterprise to be like, that was your impression of humans, was based on this one individual.
Right.
That's terrible.
Well,
so
I think
good thing Mr. Crusher redeemed us a little bit.
I think Kaczynski is a means to an end for the Traveler. I think the Traveler knew everything that was going on. But by enabling Kaczynski's arrogance, it helped the Traveler on his goal of being curious and exploring and interacting and things like that. So he was okay with kind of being the puppet in the background pulling the strings. Effectively.
Still embarrassing as humans, though.
For sure.
But that's the person he's dealing with.
I just think he knew what he was getting into. I think he knew the only way it would have worked was for him to find someone like Kaczynski that was overly confident and arrogant. And I mean, I think he probably just manipulated Kaczynski into doing a lot of this. So,
yeah. Do we have much else on this episode, or should we move on to the next one?
I think we can move on. I'm gonna reset my Wi-Fi real quick, just because I get some web pages that aren't loading. So I'm gonna just turn off and on again. So I'll probably disappear for a second. I'll be back.
Okay.
Well, he's off. I'll give you the trivia. You have a chance then.
Wow, I'm already back. That was something. There we go. Every once in a while, I think I have to get new Wi-Fi. I think what I've got is losing its mind every once in a while. I'll be like, I'm not going to load any web pages or do anything, but the Zoom is going to keep working. I can still hear and interact with you, but nothing loads.
I moved my desk to the corner of my office, so now it's like the furthest possible spot in the house from the router. And Aaron has a little like hub thing set up, but it's far away.
So I do want to go back because you mentioned Troy's accent, and that's what I was trying to Google. So here's what it is. I knew it was something different, and I couldn't remember what it was. But so she's British, but she modeled her early accent on an Israeli friend of hers. So she was trying to do an Israeli accent in the early days, and basically
She could look Israeli. I could see
yeah,
that.
she's Greek, right?
Yeah, she looks it.
Her heritage is Greek, so you're talking the same geographic area,
Yeah.
right? So over time, it just didn't work out. And so over time, it just kind of tapered back into her original British accent. And so by the end of the show, she's just using her own voice.
So, question. What was she an American, like a British actress who's in America when she was cast? Does Aaron know this? Or was she known, or was this her first casting? That's interesting. There's 2 British cast members on a new TV show. Were they specifically looking for a British cast for that? Or did they just happen to find her? Or how, Aaron, do you know anything about how she was cast?
No clue.
All right, homework for you for next week, okay?
All right.
All right. You guys want 2 quiz questions?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. I gotta move this so I can see you guys' faces. What is the name of the ship that was serviced prior to the Enterprise by Kaczynski?
I muted, Nate.
Muted?
You jerk. Why isn't she saying anything? I know this just because I love the name of the ship. Can I answer it now? I said 4 times. The USS Fearless.
And what was the one before that for a bonus point?
Oh, I don't remember.
Also used to clean your kitchen sink. Ajax.
Okay.
All right. And this is the hard one because I always do one hard one. What galaxy did they end up in after the jump?
Aaron.
Oh, that was really hard. That was really close. I'm gonna say I think it was Aaron, but we'll find out in post review here. The booth will have to redo this call. M33.
But what was the other name for it?
I had that too. I don't write that down.
I don't know.
No idea.
Triangulum.
Oh, I did know that. But I thought it was too obscure. I didn't think you guys would get it.
I would have gotten it.
The nerd.
Don't underestimate how obscure I can go with some of these. I couldn't get Ajax apparently, but the rest of it.
All right. Should we move on to episode 6?
Yeah.
The Lonely Among Us.
While distracted by 2 antithetical races applying for Federation membership, the Enterprise picks up a sentient entity that can alternately possess either man or machine in Lonely Among Us.
So, can I give my ranking on this one first?
Yeah.
This is my first sub 5.
Yeah.
Because it was so stupid with the stupid aliens on board. The snakes versus the dogs. And then at the end, we're pretty sure the snakes ate the dog or the dogs ate the snake. Like, we just failed in a diplomatic mission. We just let our people kill each other.
Reptilian meat.
Like, what the actual heck, guys? And we just said it as like a side note, like, just FYI, we're pretty sure that they'd ate each other. Like, what? I don't know. I thought this was terrible. I thought it was so boring too. I was like, okay, cool. They pass through the cloud. I get it. And then oh God, Crusher's like weird hat thing and glass thing. It was all the no's from me. I was not entertained by this.
Sub 5, but you didn't really give it a number.
Oh, sub 5. I was gonna say 4. Sorry.
Okay. I mean that is sub 5. I'll give you that much.
So you thought Code of Honor was better than this one?
I did. This one irritated me. Code of Honor was annoying in a very like sci-fi way. Sci-fi could be annoying, right? But still be okay. Like it's just you expect that. This was just
technically she gave Code of Honor a 4 as well.
I'm so consistent. I mean, I take back what I said. I'm so good, but I still like this one least.
That's fair.
All right. Nate, what's your rating?
I gave it a 6. It was all right. I mean, yeah, I think the subplot of those 2 species is dumb. We could have done without that. It just didn't feel like it fit necessarily with the rest of the episode. The idea of this, entity that's trying to, get back to where it came from, and it's using different crew members and systems along the way. I think it's kind of interesting. It's somewhat of a sci-fi trope. I
I
think a
say
lot of
it's a we've done
What?
that
A
over and over
body
again.
swap episode? No way.
no, we'd never reuse a plot line from the original series, blatantly because we have more budget and want to redo it. Um, but I didn't think it was as bad as Abbie thinks it is. I think it was generally okay. Um, Not my favorite. Certainly better than Code of Honor. Sorry, it just is. But not anywhere near as good as Where No One Has Gone Before. I don't think it worked as well.
I agree with many of your sentiments. I disagree with your rating. I gave it a 5. But for a lot of the same reasons you did. I thought there were some good points in the episode. Sherlock Data was kind of fun. Um, but I I again felt like it I like how they're trying to have distinct A and B storylines in the episode. Say, like, this is going on and this is going on. But for that to work, they really need to converge at some point.
And they didn't.
And they didn't. And so they had two separate episodes that could have each potentially been okay, and instead just made this convoluted, lame thing. I mean, it started out, you would almost think the A story was the two alien races that
Yeah.
they're picking up to
And it
bring
wasn't.
in.
It was the B plot.
And that was the B plot, but it's like the entire thing was set up for that final, basically, joke that the one was complaining about their meat being gone and how savage and barbaric they were because they still eat real meat and not synthesized stuff. And then there's some blood that matches the whatever in the hallway. It's like they forced the entire plot line into the episode just for that cheap laugh at the end.
Yeah.
And I felt like, yeah, I wrote the entire setup was a red herring and it just did not work for me.
I, I will say it was nice to see some aliens that are not humans or Vulcans or the more like human looking
Yeah.
races. I mean, you start to see some of the bigger budget stuff that's happening where they can, do some of the prosthetics and things like that and make
Oh
it
yeah.
interesting.
The
It
costumes
was a
were solid for a weekly TV show,
yeah,
but yeah, the story itself is what lost me.
yeah,
I had no issue when they picked up some snake looking and sounding aliens and they were going to be
yeah.
transporting them, and then there were whatever dog, mouse, rat aliens. I mean, had no problem with that except for that that entire storyline didn't didn't add to the story at all.
Not at
And
all.
it didn't even provide, like, you can have a scene, you can have a character, you can have something that doesn't advance the story if it provides some of that comic relief or something like that, or is just something fun. This time around, I just felt like it didn't work. I felt like they're trying to expand in their storytelling abilities and use of the medium where you don't see such distinct A-B storylines going on in the original series. You'll have away team and on the ship, and that's kind of it. But they're still throughout the entire episode talking about and dealing with the same thing almost every time. Now there are some instances where it's different, but they still make a clear connection between the two storylines and how they do come together. It's like there's something down on the planet, there's a time crunch, and they're dealing with this Klingon ship. And so the Enterprise has to go away, but they're still on the time crunch. So there's that connection. That was just completely missing, I thought, in this episode.
Yep.
So I can't go higher than a 5 on it. Yeah, it just missed the mark. Though it was funny at the end that they, without explicitly saying it, very strongly insinuated that one side was eating one of the other delegates. I did think that was funny, but it seemed cheap.
Yeah, it wasn't funny enough to make up for.
Right.
And just, I don't know, don't you think that if you're on a diplomatic mission, you would have a different reaction if one side decided to eat the other side? Instead of the kind of like, oh, haha, funny, like, oh, they're cooking some reptile meat. And instead of like, oh, hey, this might be a political disaster. But this is
terrible. Yeah, and then let's go further and talk
think about it.
Like,
it's
I'm
horrifying.
Sorry. Yeah, a sentient life. We just ate them, and then even talk about where they originally put their quarters. Like knowing that this is a massive ship, right? Nate, how many decks is this ship?
A lot. I can't remember. It's in the 30s, I think.
They're only 100 meters apart. So how many meters is 100 meters?
100.
Well,
100.
how far, as far as like spacings go?
Sorry,
my point is
that was too easy.
I know it. I walked into that one. I was trying to say like how far would that actually feel as far as in terms of the ship?
Think of it as effectively a football field, right? I mean,
yeah. So we've got this
100 meters
freaking
is close
massive. We've got a massive ship, and they put them on the same deck. Like
think on a cruise ship. It's between the front of the ship and the first set of stairs or the first elevator bank.
Yeah, Enterprise is
That's
bigger than that.
Right.
Enterprise is way bigger than that. So why are they putting them right next to each other when you know that it's already there? And then I'm sorry, Tasha, I gotta shit on you once again, but you've already let them escape multiple times. How did you lose them again? Well, how are they not contained to quarters at this point when they've already are not following the rules and they're walking around with knives?
It's only been 80 years since the horrible security of the original series. They clearly have not learned.
Security. I mean, my last note on this episode is security fails again. That's literally the last thing I wrote.
Jeez. I don't remember security being that bad when it gets taken over. I'm just going to put it out there when the other person takes it over. But, I might be misremembering things.
I honestly don't have much else on this episode. I didn't care for it. I thought it was just poorly executed. Costumes were good. The different alien races, that was cool. But overall, it was just poorly executed. With that said, my first note was that Worf getting shocked at the beginning would make Kirk proud for how he was throwing himself all over the set and like flopping on the floor. Yeah. That was like peak Kirk.
I can see that.
Peak Shatner acting. And then I made a note, and I could be wrong on this, but it seemed like Wesley was wearing the exact same sweater as the week before. And for some reason, that was a little tilting, while it's not tilting at all that the crew is wearing the exact same uniforms week after week. But I think we've seen Wesley in enough different stuff that it just seemed weird that 2 weeks in a row he was wearing the same clothes.
So Katie at one point, I will oftentimes be watching these while, Katie's reading in the living room or something like that. It's kind of, after Ellie goes to bed, she does one thing, I do the other, right? And so at one point, she looked up and went, wait a second, that's a boy? Because the sweater that he had on was so feminine that glance out of the corner of her eye and kind of, his voice being, the age that he is, a little bit higher. Like thought it was a girl. And then did the double take of, oh no, that's a guy, but that's a very feminine sweater that he's wearing in this episode.
Yeah.
So I did
And
write that down
again,
as
I could be wrong, but I think it was the same as the episode before, which for some
I
reason
don't
just felt weird. But again, it was just like, but then it doesn't feel weird at all that Picard is always wearing the exact same thing, and so is
yeah,
everyone else on the crew.
yep.
Um,
So
that's how good this episode was.
well,
That was the stuff I was thinking about.
but I have a point of discussion that, could drag on this discussion or could shut it down real quick. And, I have thoughts on it, but I do like the quote that they throw in there because this is kind of the Sherlock Holmes vibe going with Data, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of an interesting thing with him being the android who's trying to understand humanity. You pick on a fictional character that's effectively an android in terms of personality, right? And he says at one point, the detective's credo. When other contingencies fail, what remains, however improbable, must be the truth. So my question to the two of you is, do you believe that to be true?
Can you repeat the question?
So he says at one point, the detective's credo is when other contingencies fail, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. Do
I
you
can
agree
only
with
hear that in Leonard Nimoy's voice.
that? Yeah, that's fair.
Now, I would say that does seem to be true.
Yep.
However,
Yep.
the assumption is that you have factored in all of those options.
And that is
So,
where I land.
so yes, if you have all of the information and have eliminated all of the incorrect or false or whatever, what is left is the truth.
and how
But
many times in
that's a
life,
big assumption that you've gotten everything.
and how many times in life do you actually have all of the information, all of the data to go through and eliminate all the contingencies to the one thing that's left over that may seem outlandish, but it's the truth. Because I would say,
I'll
again,
let you know
based on
when
my,
that happens.
yeah, I would say based on my personal experience, that almost every time I've eliminated everything else and I've been left with something that is way out in left field and doesn't feel like it's true, I'm missing data that would show me other scenarios that are far more likely and end up being actually the case. So I realize it's a very Sherlock Holmesian thing. Like I know that's in the novels and stuff like that. And, it is a direct quote. It's just, I think on its face, it's a very cool quote. And then it's one of those where you start to pick at it a little bit and you go, well, but
Well,
actually,
it's a bit like Bayesian analysis or Bayesian thinking in how you have your initial suppositions, your initial truth, as you will, and you're constantly updating it with new information. And
yep.
it's getting closer and closer to accuracy or the truth, whatever it might be. So I think that's kind of how it is. I mean, in a theoretical sense, yes, it's absolutely true. Once you've eliminated all incorrect possibilities, doesn't matter how unlikely, it's going to be whatever remains. But yeah, I think there's in practice, in theory, it's one thing. In practice, yeah, unlikely, uncommon things happen all the time. So clearly they can happen. Yet there are almost always better explanations or more clear, more probable explanations. But again, more information is what can filter those out. So I don't think you can ever, in reality, perfect that. But
I just thought it was
they
a
say
super interesting.
the perfect is the enemy of the good.
Yep.
Kind of. You can get awfully damn close by taking that approach though, and being willing to accept uncommon things. I mean, that's like that notion is a little bit not exactly related to, but similar to the idea of like the black swan, things like that.
Yeah.
That there are improbable things that are a factor in reality. Yeah.
So I don't know. I just thought it came up during the show, and I've heard
Yeah.
that quote a million times, and I didn't give it much of an extra thought. But I now watch these episodes from a different kind of lens, and so I went down a rabbit hole of how true is that statement, and came to the same conclusion that you did. But I thought it's an interesting discussion, right? So
Yeah. It's true, but there's probably always more data that can be gathered.
Yep.
But even then, data is oftentimes only as good as your interpretation of it, which
Yep.
can go many, many different ways too. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah. So, yeah. And this was kind of a
Good call,
garbage
Matt.
episode. So, let's move
There you
on.
go. Let's move on to the garbage episode.
Do you have any trivia or anything else for us on this one, Abbie?
I got 3 if you want it.
All right.
What are they, we keep calling them the snake people, but what was the actual name of them? Their race.
I just saw it, so I can't say.
It
But
was.
I had zero recollection from the episode.
I only remember one of them, and I don't remember which one it was. But there was the Antikins, and I don't remember the other one. So I don't know if it's
Nope.
the Antikins or if it was the one I don't remember.
Sile or Sele?
Okay.
And the Antikins were the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wolf dog things. Where is the Enterprise transporting the delegates?
Deneb 4. Sorry, I should have said my name.
Also called what? They were calling it something else as well.
Don't remember.
Parliament.
Oh, you're right.
Mm-hmm. Parliament. All right. Name the order of the possessions by the entity. I'm going to say if there's 4 of them.
Aaron. The Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
Worf.
Well, okay. Yeah.
Crusher.
The Enterprise was 0, just so you know.
Okay.
But there you go.
But
Okay.
he was
Worf.
wrong. It did infect the Enterprise
Worf,
first.
Crusher.
You're right.
Then it went back into the Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
And then Picard.
Correct.
Good call. I forgot about Crusher. I don't think I would have gotten that one.
Yeah, because then she touched the control panel.
Oh, that's
or
right.
Touched
And
the
then it was like,
panel.
how did I
And I
get
was
you?
like, why am I here? So, on to, was there anything else?
I'm guessing not.
Yep. So on to the last episode of this week, season 1, episode 7. On an alien planet, young Wesley Crusher commits a transgression, small by our standards, but mandatorily punishable by death in theirs, in justice.
I bet Abbie loved this episode. Number 1, it's a Wesley episode. And she loves Wesley. And number 2, the plot on this is just amazing.
The plot on this one is like the plot of The Witcher. People weren't watching it for the plot of The Witcher.
It's fair.
They're watching it for the very Logan's Run-esque costumes. If anyone has ever watched Logan's Run, it goes in the 70s. It reminded me very much of that. This is what you used to watch on Turner Classic Movies when you had no other TV shows or shows to watch when you lived overseas, and that was the only you got movies sometimes they came through at like 10 o'clock at night. Rough. It was rough. I dislike this one less than the last one. So I actually gave it a 5.5 because I was just kind of nothinged it. It was like annoying. They stayed true to the Prime Directive, which was good. I think they were consistent in how they did it. It does serve the purpose of he's an acting ensign. He's been an acting ensign for a hot minute. Where's the responsibility here? Like what we're not using brains here, people. And I get it. You make big risks, big rewards maybe, but it's like this is still a 15-year-old kid and you're on a diplomatic mission still at this point. Like, what are you doing?
But they sort of explain that, which is You know,
I didn't say they didn't. I say I disagree with their explanations as appropriate. And did Aaron give the explanation for this one, by the way?
I did.
So I like this less than Lonely Among Us. I like this more than Code of Honor, which is my benchmark right now. I ended up giving it a 5. I think it's just a dumb episode.
No way. I just made a connection for Aaron. I'm so sorry. I just totally interrupted you. Aaron's gonna love this. Did you recognize the main chick? Like the Riven?
No.
Her name is Brenda Bakke. It's from one of your favorite movies. And she's a big name in one of your movies. She plays Lana Turner in LA Confidential.
I was gonna say, she plays Cordella from Tales from the Crypt. I could see that being Aaron's favorite movie.
I haven't watched LA Confidential in a long time, but that movie kicks ass.
She's also in Hot Shots Part 2 and Under Siege 2 Dark Territory.
Well,
Brenda Bakke?
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Balake.
and I'm sorry, her most recent performance was in the 2020, I'm assuming movie, but I don't know, called Unbelievable as Nurse Christine Choppel.
Can't argue with that.
Unbelievable, a different kind of Trek.
Martians have conquered Earth. 4 astronauts fight to save the last remnants of humanity. And the cover has Snoop Dogg. So this is crazy. What is
the person he was with? It's been in a million different things. Like nothing huge, but like most of like the hot name items he's been in.
Have you looked at the cast list
is that movie?
So
oh my God,
Dogg.
what is that movie?
But Abbie, it's Snoop Dogg. It's Garrett Wong, who plays Harry Kim. It's got Chase Masterson, who's in DS9. It has Tim Russ, who's in Voyager. It has Nichelle Nichols, Uhura, Robert Picardo, Marina Sirtis, Michael Dorn, Worf, Walter Koenig, Chekhov, Linda Park from Battlestar Galactica, Nana Visitor from DS9, Connor Trinneer is from Star Trek.
Wait, there was no Visitor from DS9?
What?
What Visitor from DS9? I missed that.
No, Nana Visitor is the actor's name. She's on DS9.
Oh.
That's her name, is Nana Visitor. She plays Kira.
I got nothing to say about that.
What the hell is that movie?
What is this? Why does it have so many Star Trek people on it?
What's the name of it?
And Snoop Dogg. Unbelievable with 5 exclamation points at the end of it. Came out in 2020. What is this?
Oh, it's on Netflix. Nope, different one. Never mind.
Wow, we just went down a rabbit hole of like epic proportions.
Wait, I am not finding this.
Yeah, just you can watch it on YouTube.
Oh my God.
3 astronauts and their puppet companion, Captain Kirk Stillwood.
So this is like what's the puppet movie from the South Park guys?
Yeah, Team America.
That one.
World Police.
Reminiscent of this. Oh my God, this is amazing.
Oh man. Okay, so that's a crazy rabbit hole. We may need to add that to the list when we reach that point.
Crap. There are so many Star Trek people that were in this. It's unreal.
Yeah.
Who was the actress that you got through the one I was looking at?
Yeah.
Really?
That was the most recent thing she did.
Yep.
That is literally how we ended up here. Because, as Aaron pointed out, she plays Nurse Christine Choppel. Choppel. Yeah, just one L at the end.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, and the trailer for it is not creepy at all looking.
I mean, I can only imagine. I just love that it has Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg is top billing. That right there is worth the watch. I love it.
So back to the episode Justice.
Yeah, derailed. Okay.
I didn't particularly care for it either. I gave it a 6.
Okay.
Mostly because I thought it did a better job of using the A and B storylines. I mean, it was back to the A plot was the away team, the B plot was what's going on the Enterprise.
Yep.
They were connected.
Yep.
They weren't directly connected early on, but they did come together and they told a coherent story. So I felt the episode was technically better than the previous one, but really I feel like they just did a better job of telling an only okay story. And this is one that I wouldn't avoid, but I wouldn't go out of my way to rewatch it. So while they did a better job with they were still working with
I think it was
material.
an interesting exploration of the Prime Directive, which we haven't had a really
Correct.
good deep dive into in this series yet. And it was interesting to kind of see Picard's take on that and the crew in general. And then I did think that there was a little bit of a commentary, which is juxtaposed with Code of Honor, where it's almost kind of the opposite, but of the, needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one, right?
Mhm.
And, at one point, in the movies, like when we watch Search for Spock, his mom asks him that, and he says, "I would take that as an axiom, right? That it's a hard truth." And here you have Picard saying, "I refuse to let arithmetic decide questions like that." This is kind of a different take that I think is interesting, and they probably could have gone deeper into it, but I still think it was an interesting exploration of the Prime Directive and that needs of the many type concept of, are we going to jeopardize the crew of the Enterprise to save Wesley, or are we going to sacrifice Wesley because if we don't, this godlike creature that's in orbit is going to kill everyone on the ship? And rather than taking the easy way out and basically saying, well, yeah, it's one kid versus 1,000 people, he's like, no, we're going to find the other option.
Well,
What's
then
the
they
other?
also in his captain's calculus, he also had to factor in that if they do escape with Wesley and get away, they could be opening up a greater intergalactic conflict.
No,
And what is the cost of that? So
no,
I did think it there's that calculus that a captain has to do. I mean, Kirk did that over and over again in the original series, and I guess at this point I should just be surprised that Picard didn't surrender the ship.
you should
Um,
be.
That is offensive. Would you stop that?
I'm just saying, based on
No,
the first handful of
no. We
episodes,
do not insult Picard. It's
he
not like
he
Honestly, I heard
surrendered the
Cisco or
ship.
someone on
about
Deep
that at
Space
some point.
Nine. You keep this polite.
He surrendered the ship twice in the first like 3 episodes. But yeah, I
Just
was
teasing.
intrigued by his by that calculus and that they had the discussion like it's not simply a mathematical decision, but that's still a factor.
Yep.
As unpopular as that may seem. The thoughts I had about this episode revolved more around like it was an interesting discussion on how we interact with different cultures, with different laws and customs. I
Yep.
kept thinking of the story in the mid 90s of the kid, I don't know how old he was, but the guy, the American that was over in Singapore and vandalized some
Oh,
cars and got caned.
yeah, I
And that was
remember
a
that.
big thing over here because
Mhm.
we don't cane people for that.
Mhm.
But at the same time, we didn't go to war to prevent that from happening, and he took his punishment and moved on. So clearly, there's a, an issue of scale. Now, if they were going to say he graffitied some cars, now we're going to kill him, I bet there would have been some more involvement
Yep.
in that. So it was an interesting discussion though that they had and kind of weighing those pros and cons of okay, do we push our enlightened selves on them and force them to do something where we can see that we used to be that way or similar enough um to do that. But then that also ties in a little bit to like the broken windows theory. I mean, they basically just very strongly dealt with any level of crime. And at that point in their history, it was gone because they had done that so thoroughly. But then you've got the question, okay, well, who tells visitors about this?
Right.
And not just the rules, because the rules are easy, but you kind of left out an important part.
Right. And I mean, I agree they left out an important part, but they're also a somewhat isolated species, so they may not realize that they left out the important part.
Yeah.
And
But I think they did because as soon as it happened, they were just like, "Oh no, he didn't know, he didn't know," and the kids were trying to defend Wesley.
right.
So there was something where they did know that obviously he did
Fair.
not know the magnitude of falling on some plants. And I mean, he gets up and he's just like, "Guys, I'm fine."
Yep.
And to which most of us were like, damn it, Wesley. Come on.
God.
Like, be on your best behavior at the very least. You're on this planet. But I agree with the premise of he's still a dumb teen, which is why you don't send dumb teens on things like that. But the line that struck
He
out
is
to
an
me on this
acting
one.
ensign. He is an acting ensign.
Now, you and I both know those acting ensigns have very, very little actual responsibility. Like, they are like, they sleep in a bunk room with 8 other people and they are like army style, like just peons.
Yep.
So, no, why is he on an away mission with the upper senior staff? There's
It
nepotism
wasn't
going
an
on there.
away
I'm just
mission,
saying.
wasn't it? Shore leave?
No, they were testing the planet to see if it's acceptable for shore leave. It wasn't shore
Hmm,
leave yet. But
fair.
Beverly had the comment about, well, my son didn't know the law. That's unfair. Your laws are unjust. And their comment was, we cannot allow ignorance of the law to become a defense, which is interesting because I think that's very well articulated. And I feel like it's so easy to want to use that argument ourselves
We
on
do
things being
use it.
like, no, it's obvious. Why didn't you follow this? Come on. It's obvious.
That's not
Whereas
unique to this show. Like that's an
no,
actual thing that we say in our own society, right?
Hmm.
correct. Where it's like, but that goes down to what are we teaching as far as values? And, that goes down the whole rabbit hole of what is absolute truth, what is not, what are the firm laws that, there's some that we all believe in, regardless. We don't murder, we don't steal, things like that are kind of basic laws that everyone knows. But what are those like gray moral areas on stuff? They're saying that their laws and ignorance of those are not a defense. Well, does that mean they study the rule book? Is that a viable method for society? I would say probably not, obviously. But Picard's response to
Well,
that is interesting because he goes, there is no justice if laws are absolute because we are
mhm.
a evolving group. So the laws have to evolve with us.
It's,
So
it's one of the quotes I love about this episode.
Mhm.
mhm. It speaks to it because we want I really want it to be as isolated as we can't allow ignorance to be an excuse because I think that's such a truth for me, whereas like you need to be not ignorant, like do your best to research as you can and not be just use it as a crutch. Not to say it's true. I think I'm arguing the difference between true ignorance, I think, and
chosen ignorance,
willful ignorance.
Yeah,
willful ignorance.
Well, yeah,
agreed. There's a difference
a,
between the two.
There's a point to like, hey, you told us this, but you left out that kind of important part.
That was important.
Yeah.
I do love, because I want to hit on this too, but this is one of the things I love about Picard are his little monologues, right? Sometimes they're shorter, sometimes they're longer. And I think this is the first time we really get one of them. And it has to do with exactly what you were talking about, Abbie, where he says, there can be no judgment so long as the laws are absolute. Even life itself is an exercise in exceptions. I think that's such a cool little like quote. And I do think it sort of sums up this episode really well, right? I mean, they're trying to make something absolute, but life is exceptions. You have someone who is foreign to your world that doesn't understand the situation, does something that's frankly relatively minor, but your culture says he must die for it.
Well, also, I got a couple questions on that in general. I don't necessarily think that Picard thought he was avoiding justice. He actually says on here, he's like, what of justice for my people?
Yep.
What was the quote? That's Tasha who says it. What of justice to Wesley? Does he deserve to die? And Picard's response is, I'm truly sorry, Liator, but I must have justice for my people too. Transporter room energized. So it's an argument of, is justice to you the same as justice to me? So we're both still trying to make justice, quote unquote, happen. It's just what's the right way to go about it. And Picard's arguing that it's not based on one viewpoint. And that's what makes it difficult. So we're not necessarily adjusting because of evolution or because of an exercise in exceptions, as you said, Nate. I think it's more perspective differences as well. Make a big difference on that.
So there's an interesting quote that didn't make it into the episode. And so after Picard, says life is an exercise in exceptions, that Ito God was supposed to cut in. And they took this out of the episode and say, how can there be justice unless laws are consistent? Was it not one of your own people who said, lawlessness anywhere endangers lawfulness everywhere? Without absolute law, my people would be inundated with exceptions, appeals, plea bargains. I believe your people have a term for it, with red tape. Nobody could be punished for anything anymore. Thus, if I yield to these requests of yours, what will you yield in return?
Ooh, that's insightful. Like that's a tough one. Like, how do you respond to that? Because he's not wrong. So if this is the entire basis of this, hedonistic society, is that we don't have to worry about people committing crimes. Which, I'm sorry, if you know which zone is selected or you don't know which zone is selected.
They don't,
whatever.
It's random.
They don't, it's just random. But I still don't believe there's not people messing around.
Which is why everybody is in theory behaving, because you could be in that random zone. So
sure. But point being, I get it. I mean, we're talking about the structure of this entire civilization. We're not talking like one court case. We're talking, this is universal to a planet. And I don't know how big this planet is, but I'm pretending it's like size of Earth. I mean, that'd be crazy. Like one kid falls through, one guy gets caned. Does that mean now the rest of us should be caning everyone kind of situation? Is be the equivalent, right? So it wasn't just there.
If Wesley just got caned for doing things versus killed.
Now, I think if it had been some
that's a grayer area.
I think if it had been some lesser consequence, they would have said, "Yeah,
do it.
You done messed up, Wesley." So,
I agree. They would have like Wesley get caned.
Because I mean, they were basically saying, like, I mean, I did think his line, like, I'm from Starfleet and we always tell the truth.
We don't lie.
I thought that was kind of a lame.
So Will Wheaton hated that line.
Yeah.
I was reading some of the trivia, and so hopefully I'm not taking away from trivia later. But basically, he talks about how much he looks back and hates that line,
Yeah.
but also kind of understood. He admits in retrospect that actually serves a purpose, showing that Wesley may be smart, but he's also extremely naive.
But that's I could easily remember thinking similarly when I was, say, 15.
Yeah.
Um, Thinking I know everything, and now I've know 15-year-olds are stupid.
Yep.
But so I mean, I could see that. It was just, yeah, just a silly line, but whatever. Um, I mean, he was like, yeah, I did this, I messed up, and was basically like, yeah, I'll take my punishment because I deserve it because I broke the rules. But then it's that the scale, the punishment didn't fit the crime is basically it. And we have differing we have we have things called degrees for a reason. Um
Hmm.
and then while you've got this like hedonistic pleasure society basically, but everyone is living with some amount of fear. Like if you trip and you're in the wrong spot, you might die. I
Yep.
mean, that's kind of that balance where it's
Do
that,
they not have toddlers like our Danica, where it's like she'd be dead by age one? Like she
yeah,
would have
probably
ran
don't
through
let them
that thing.
outside.
Yeah.
I mean, you could lock your kids up. Like I'm really trying. Like don't get me wrong. Like we do as
Yeah.
much as we can to keep this kid
No, it's
from going
I
crazy,
think
but
it
it's
I
it's
think
that kind of
it's
concept.
I think that's kind of the point I'm getting at, where it's just like it looks like it's this free, happy-go-lucky society, but that comes at a cost. And that
Hmm.
cost is living in constant fear of a single misstep. I mean, it's like everyone is walking on eggshells. I mean, even if they're not don't seem like it, still all of those kids he was with were well aware of everything they needed to be looking out for
So I wonder
and knowing the consequences.
if there's a missing commentary here that we haven't talked about around the death penalty in general, right? Um, because
Beware what you're stepping into on that one. My husband's written a thesis on this, like a
I,
legit
yeah,
thesis.
I'm sure he could school me, and I'm probably going to do a poor job, but there's varying opinions over the efficacy of having a death penalty, right? That
Hmm.
there are folks that argue that death penalty is an effective way to deter crime, and there are those that say it is an ineffective way. And I don't know the answer, and have not done any of the research to say one way or the other. I think there are times when the death penalty is probably called for, and then I think there are other times where I don't, whatever. But is this maybe a commentary on that as well? Of you know poorly phrased, but a argument against the death penalty.
If it is, I think their lack of nuance
Yeah.
hurts their argument
For sure.
because nobody in their right mind will advocate, you tripped on my garden, you deserve to die.
Yep.
It,
Well, and I put it even a step further and be like, I think it's more along the concept of, like Aaron said, if there's fear, does that work? So is it possible to have a perfect society if the consequences are extreme enough? Like, do we think that would work today? If and it makes me think no, because just think of the the regimes we've had historically throughout the world where it's
Yeah.
you follow the letter of the law or you'll be murdered. People still did things. We still climbed over walls. We
You
still
talk
hid
about
places.
Nazi Germany and things.
Right. I mean, any number of the
those
dictators
places are
that the
all
world has seen.
built on a house of cards, and the slightest misstep and it crumbles. So
Agreed.
it needs everyone, if everyone buys into it, then it can work until people don't. And
Well,
by
Right.
work, I mean it can appear to work.
yeah.
But in reality it really
But there are people that make
doesn't.
the same arguments about things like communism too, of like theoretically communism can work in these scenarios if everyone buys into it. Yeah, but we know historically that communism has never worked, right? So
I mean, we say that doesn't work because of human nature, right? So that's,
I
I think,
guess
normally argument for all
technically they're
that.
not
And
humans.
that's what I was going to
But
say. So, but then why would they need such harsh penalties in order to have consistency? So I think it all boils down to maybe they aren't as advanced, not say they're not as advanced, but they're trying this out and seeing how it works. And it's eventually they just haven't had it boil over with what doesn't
I
work
think
yet. This is the
I
first
think they
time.
said they're essentially human-like or such close approximations, but then they were talking about how societally they are not as evolved. And
Yeah,
that's
Correct.
why they are embracing those kinds of theories and that way of just approaching
I
things.
I don't believe it's this series. I think it's in a different Star Trek series, and we'll get to it, where we will rehash this whole concept of can you have a perfect society by having really strict laws at something, and how it forms a really seedy underbelly where people just are really good at not getting caught and a lot of mischief happens. And I think I'm talking about Voyager. Um,
yeah. I mean, that was my gut as to which one you're talking about. I'm trying to remember.
yeah. Yeah.
Well,
So, and we'll
no
get to
different.
it, but
It's
like
no
we're gonna
different
keep
than
retouching on this because it's a conversation thing, right? Like, what is the right choice? How strict are you supposed to be? I mean, and we still to this day we'll see judges who will make a what is the word for it? They will make a um not a martyr. What's the opposite of murder?
an example.
An example out of. I'm sorry. Yes. We see judges even today that will make examples out of young people or barely young people because they don't want the rest of their friends doing it or getting back to the wrong groups. And so we have people today who are in prison and doing things like that, like it's very, very long prison sentences because they wanted to make an example out of them. So it's tough when you don't have extremes or you don't have black and whites. The gray we can't interpret, and it does come off as unfair sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
there isn't a right answer to it, but I feel like
No.
instinctually all know that if it's ending like in this case, like an accident ending a life, that's tough to
I
end a different life for it.
I think when you're asking if you can have that perfect society by everyone being so afraid, I think that's like, oh, those kids seem so well behaved. Well, it's because they're afraid they're going to get the shit kicked out of them. And this seemingly perfect family or whatever is
All
so
those,
far from the case. So
yeah,
I think that's kind of how it is. On paper or at a snapshot, it can look great. Think
Yeah.
of the stories you hear of people who go visit North Korea and they show them these curated spots.
Mhm.
But that is not reality, even if that's what somebody sees from the outside. And very unlikely that somebody on the inside is going to say anything but, yes, this is great. I love everything about this, and all is good.
I mean, I
So,
think you described fascism
yeah,
effectively.
yeah.
So,
these people are
So,
so scared to live and so upset within this episode, this planet, that that's why it's a hedonistic society. They got to get that energy out
that's the only
somewhere.
they,
joy that they can
They're
find in their
but
so
they
life.
may, they
stressed.
may not
It's the
even,
only
they may not
release
even
they've got.
realize it. They
Yeah.
may not even realize it though. Um, but another interesting thing in this episode was how the two, was it mediators? Was that what they were called? They came in and they were just like, why would you scare him? Like, you've made this immensely worse on
This
for
could have been
him
painless and
because he would have had no idea what was happening and it would be over. Now, not to say like, oh, that makes it all better, but just the interesting perspective difference between them saying like, yeah, this is an extreme punishment, but we do it with care.
yeah.
Um, to where he would feel literally nothing is it's it's a juxtaposition between like, okay, now he's going to be punished and you scared the shit out of him.
Yeah.
So found that to be
It is an interesting
point.
Right? Like, they could have just done it,
Yeah.
and he would have never known.
Yep.
It would have had other implications for sure for the rest of the
Right.
episode.
Right.
Greg and Abbie would have been happy because they never would have had to deal with Wesley again. So she's not even paying attention.
I am.
I'm
I said to wrestling down before I forgot.
Just thinking about some snide comment about DS9. Don't worry.
sure she was. I have no doubt. I don't have a whole lot of other.
Oh, did you see that look?
I was not looking at the cameras. That's okay.
I have a whole lot. I don't know. It wasn't snide.
Oh, right.
Speaking of
She's
snide
never been
comments,
snide in her life.
I do have a snide. I resent that remark. I am a lovely person. Lovely person. So this whole episode can get summed up in 2 sentences, in my opinion.
Okay.
Damn it, Wesley.
Okay.
And yet another security blunder. Like, by God, Tasha, maybe send them a questionnaire asking some basic questions about security and like safety and stability on this planet. Just saying, maybe the like memo they gave you wasn't sufficient. Oh, they didn't mention it. Oh, Captain, I swear they didn't tell me. Did you ask? Did you find out at all how their structures of their law work? I feel like that'd be kind of a basic thing. Like,
now,
who governs you? How do you do your laws? How do you do? I feel like those would be basic questions to have on a planet you're trying to send your people to. So, once again, Tasha. I mean, we've gotten lizards being eaten now by under Tasha's watch. We've got Wesley almost getting killed. We've got alien things. It's just she's having a really bad run here. Just saying. I know she was a Playboy model, but I'm sorry. Maybe she needs to go back to being a Playboy model.
Bing Crosby's granddaughter. I mean,
I'm sure he's really proud of her modeling career.
I'm sure he was. Pretty sure he's dead now.
I just learned that Jerry Ryan was a beauty pageant. Do you know this? She was Miss Indiana or Illinois, one of the two.
I believe.
I just learned this right before she was on Star Trek, I guess. I didn't know that.
It's a little different than being a Playboy centerfold, but
it is. Yeah. But yeah. So that's my sum up of the 2. Damn it, Wesley, and yet another security. If we'd shore up our security, these episodes would be a lot less interesting.
Yeah, we'd have less to talk about. That would be boring.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's true. Any interesting trivia? We covered everything?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't a lot of good trivia for this.
I think I mentioned it before, but the episode made me think of like that broken windows theory, where like some people speculate that, or like Rudy Giuliani in the mid-90s cleaned up New York by enforcing broken window laws, because you enforce these tiny infractions and that starts cleaning stuff up, and then that kind of takes care of some of the bigger problems, or at least so the theory goes. You could hear tons of people, I'm sure, say that's just awful and doesn't actually work and disparate impact, all that stuff. Not going into that, but the theory of it, like, you don't just address the big issues, you address all of the potential crime issues, even small stuff, and those small things roll up into bigger things, or cleaning up the small things, the big things don't necessarily happen, or at least as much. And apparently that theory was first published in the early 80s and had not been like the one I often think of or hear of is New York City, but that was in the mid 90s. So
one interesting piece of trivia I did see, which I think is kind of interesting. This is the first script to be commissioned after the pilot. So it was meant to be episode 2, but it went through so many rewrites that it ended up being the 8th episode.
I don't think this would have been good as the second episode.
No, I agree. I think it would have made very little sense.
Yep.
You needed some of the background of the characters, especially Wesley, before.
Which, again, that makes even less sense, because why would he be on the planet?
No sense if he was down there.
That's like the yeoman being down on. Like, he's the yeoman. He's the yeoman.
He is. I'll buy that. He's
It's
the yeoman.
yeoman crusher.
Yeah.
All right. What was the planet's name?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
Nathan, I'm so disappointed. Pretty sure Greg would have got this. Rubicon 3.
Yeah, I wasn't there.
Okay. What was the name of the life forms? The
Nate.
people. Nate.
The Edo.
The Edo. Aaron's like, no idea.
That one.
That's all I got.
Yeah, there's not good trivia for this. Just none of it.
I would say this. I think they're trying to get into deep concepts. I think they hit a lot of really good topics. We addressed the Prime Directive very crystal clearly. We're going to establish this right out the gate with this series that we care. We're not just going to blow you out of the water. We're not going to steal your vaccines. We're going to do things that Kirk didn't do. We're going to stand by it and make a commitment to it. But we are going to use our powers of diplomacy to try to make it so we can do both. And it was an interesting commentary on, like you said, a different style of society than we have, or that in theory they have. So I think they really tried to go deep in it on this one. I think just how they got to it was weird with their use of Wesley having no business being on that planet, Tasha not having done a proper security check of the planet, and that kind of thing. Yep. So I feel like we skipped a couple big things to make sure that we could have the plot line we wanted, which is why it was a struggle for me on this episode. Though the actual concept of it was very intriguing.
I do want to share one more piece of trivia on this before we close it out that I think is sort of funny and also just is very Gene Roddenberry, as we've kind of gotten to know him outside of Trek. So he apparently wanted the Edo to wear even less clothing than they were already wearing. But the costume designer couldn't make it any skimpier without the risk of it falling off altogether. So they pushed it to the absolute limits.
Gene.
He's kind of a dirty old man.
Dirty old. He's like a dirty old man, even when he wasn't that old. But yeah, Gene.
Yep. I just thought that was interesting and funny. So that's all I got.
So in conclusion, Greg thought this was a 9.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are we putting down on for Greg's scores?
I think obviously 10s for the 2 Wesley episodes, and then a 9 for the other.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure he'll say close enough.
Yep. I can see that.
Well, there you go. The Next Generation is beginning to feel exactly like that. The next generation of Star Trek. It still has that distinctive Star Trek feel to it, but is also coming into its own series apart from the original. I like that. Last week we talked about how we've seen this before, and I'd imagine that will continue to happen. There are only so many original stories out there, and every story is essentially a repackaging of other stories, so I don't expect this to be really any different. But I do expect Next Gen will have its own spin. While I like that it's different enough, I am glad there are still similarities to the original series, that it feels distinct, but still part of that same universe. Thinking back to some of the early episodes of the original series, I remember thinking a lot about philosophy and Star Trek, and calling that out as one of the things that made the show greater than simply spaceships and aliens. It seems like that has continued in Next Gen. I like that. Deeper meaning in the series than just the base storylines. And I'm a sucker for discussion of curiosity, like the Traveler in Where No One Has Gone Before. Curiosity is one of the most important traits you can have. I've long said if there's only one trait I could instill in my kids, it would be curiosity. It makes me think of Ted Lasso's curiosity speech with the quote, "Be curious, not judgmental." If you haven't seen that clip from Ted Lasso, go check it out. Better yet, just go watch the whole show. And I think that's as good a spot as any to call it for this week. If you're watching along with us, next time we will discuss The Battle, Hide and Q, and Haven. And as always, I want to thank you for spending your time listening to our conversations about Star Trek. If you enjoy what we're doing, please do us a favor and share with a friend. Also, leave us a rating and a review on your favorite podcast app. You can find us on X at Baldly Go Podcast and To Baldly Go Podcast on Facebook. You can also find me at aaronemery.net. For Abbie and Nate, this is Aaron, encouraging you this week to do as Scott Adams would say. Just be useful. What, a body swap episode? No way.